Have you ever dealt with those kinds of feelings where you're feeling a little bit discouraged because there aren't any little people or people with disabilities in your vicinity working alongside you?
Oh yeah. No, I was in film school. I was one out of two visibly disabled people out of a program of like 100 people, like at least in my year. So like most of the time in the industry, I'm the only little person.
Hello and welcome to The View from 4 feet and 3 inches. I'm your host, Cassidy Huff. I'm a white woman. I have a purple t-shirt on, some baby blue podcasting headphones, black rimmed glasses. I'm sitting in a faux leather chair with a few pillows behind me, and I have an amazing virtual guest today. My incredible virtual guest is Violet. Hi, Violet.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, I'm good.
Do you mind doing a visual description of yourself?
Yeah, of course. I'm Violet. I am a white woman with brown hair in two braids, and I have bangs. I am wearing a white t-shirt, a black leather jacket, and a green beanie, and I'm sitting against a plain white wall.
Love it. Great. That was great. Violet, you and I met, I think we were TikTok mutuals before anything else.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just added each other on TikTok and Instagram one
I don't
day.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember when I first saw you or why I first started following you or any of those. You just always been there, like on my free page.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot about you just through like other little people in the community, like
Oh,
Lindsay and Aubrey. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just, no pun intended, it is a very small community and I feel like we all just know each other.
no, yeah, it definitely is. It's a very small community. I was actually talking to Lindsay this morning. So
Oh,
it's wild that
wow.
you bring her up. Yeah, I know. I was texting her this
Yeah.
morning. We were sending like audio notes back and forth. Um, and I think I'm seeing her in 2 weeks in person, actually. So I'm really excited
Oh, at
about
the
that.
LPA, right, in San Diego.
Yeah, I'm actually not even going to nationals. But I live about 2 hours away, and I found a free day that I had before, just when I wasn't really doing anything. And she was like, "Oh, you know what a free day means? That means you get to come hang out with me for a few hours." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll take the train down there and, hang out, I
I
guess."
love that.
Uh, um, yeah, so we're not even really going for the actual convention. We're just going for Lindsay, Lindsay alone.
You know what? That's totally fair. I would go anywhere for Lindsay.
I would too. I absolutely would too. So, yeah, let's talk about you a little bit. So, where are you from? What do you do? What are you all about?
Oh, wow. Okay. Lots of pressure.
I know, lots of
Okay.
questions. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I am from Toronto, Ontario, which is in Canada. I've lived here, or like lived in the surrounding area for my entire life, so 26 years. And I am in the film industry. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm kind of still figuring out what I want to do. Right now, I can't talk about the project I'm on, but I'm an accessibility production assistant. I've kind of had a lot of different roles over the last 3 years just in the industry. I've done social media for nonprofit organizations. I was the associate producer on a TV show. I've been production assistant on other TV shows. Um, yeah, it's still trying to figure out what I want to do. I don't even know if the film industry is something I want to continue pursuing. But that's something for another day.
We can get into that later.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
That's another conversation. Yeah, so I mean, mainly, I don't remember what video it was that popped up on my For You page of yours, but it was probably something along the idea of film. Because that's something that we definitely share in common, and I know quite a few other little people do too. And I think when you're in this industry and have any kind of disability, you gravitate towards the people who look like you and have shared experiences. And so
Oh yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that we know a lot of the same people and that we're in the same field, because that's just kind of how it works within the
Mhm.
community itself. So I want to talk a little bit about your upbringing. So you were born with your type of dwarfism. Do you want to go into a little bit about what your diagnosis is and how that affected you as a child growing up?
Yeah, sure. So I have achondroplasia dwarfism. It's the most common form of dwarfism. My parents found out that I was going to be a little person. I think probably at like the halfway point in my mom's pregnancy, but doctors didn't know if I would be born with achondroplasia or the fatal type. Surprise, I'm still here. So I was born with achondroplasia. Um, but yeah, my parents actually they lived in Toronto. Like they both, or at least my dad, like lived in downtown Toronto, and he was like, "This is no place to raise a child." So we moved out. He moved out to my parents moved out to the suburbs, and I was raised in the suburbs. And it was a very kind of like I lived in a very small town that has grown a lot in the 26 years I've lived there. But it had like that very small town community feel, which I think is what my parents wanted, especially raising a child with a disability. Um, you know, for the most part, like growing up, everyone was accepting of my dwarfism in kindergarten, preschool, elementary school, high school. You know, you have those weird, like, you have those few outliers that act a little weird. But yeah, I think that probably helped. Just growing up with a disability is having like that community, having everyone know me. I mean, for a while, like I was literally the only little person that lived in my town. So, you know, no pressure or anything. But yeah, as I get older and as I get like kind of more into the film industry and more acquainted with disabled people, I really feel like living in a city is for me. So, you know, like kind of getting, I don't know, just kind of getting both experiences. Like right now I live in the city, but just yeah, figuring out what I want to do, who I want to be.
Yeah, I think it's a big question that we all kind of grapple with as we get older. I have my partner Kaz and I have been talking quite a bit about, how it's ridiculous that we're expected to know what we want to do for the rest of our lives and who we are and who we want to be at like 18. they're like
I
they're like,
know,
okay,
yeah,
so you're officially a legal adult. What do you want to do for literally the rest of your life for the next 50 years? And you're like, I don't know. Actually, I have
no,
no idea. So I think part of the journey of growing up and in your being in your adolescence in your 20s is figuring out, okay, like where do I want to be? What do I want to do? What path do I want to take? And I know people, I mean, I interviewed my surgeon yesterday who said that he didn't do medical school. He didn't start going to medical school until he was like in his late 30s. So,
wow,
it
jeez.
it's a journey. Like everybody's on their own unique path, and I've talked to people
Hmm.
who started their career path when they were in their 50s and are now in their 70s and they love it, but it wasn't until they like grew up, raised a family, traveled the world, and then they were like, I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like it just really depends on who you are and where you're raised and where you find yourself and the community that you're surrounded by. And I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're all expected to know who we are and what we want to do at 18. I'm a one woman show. That means that I write all of these scripts, film all of these videos all by myself. But I also have a team of amazing editors. And as you can imagine, it costs some money to be a 23-year-old entrepreneur. So that's why I started a Ko-Fi. And so many of you were asking how you can support me being able to do what I love and make videos for all of you. That's why I started a Ko-Fi. If you head on over to my Ko-Fi and drop a donation, you automatically become a representation booster. And I shout out one representation booster in my weekly YouTube video. So head on over to my Ko-Fi, drop a donation, and who knows, maybe next week I'll shout you out. Back to the video.
No, I know. And even like I took an extra year of high school, and even then, like I feel like I was still unprepared.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. I don't think high school, I mean, here in the States, it definitely does not prepare us for the real world. Um,
No.
so did you always, I want to back up a little bit. So you were born to average height parents, just like I was.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the kinds of accommodations that were really helpful for you growing up? Um, and, how your parents kind of navigated having a child with a disability when they didn't have one themselves.
Yeah. So my parents were kind of like, they were very overprotective. They still are very overprotective. And I think that's just a common experience that a lot of people, not just with dwarfism, but with disabilities have. But my parents were always the type of people to just like research. So as soon as like my mom found out that she was going to have a child with dwarfism, she just like immediately found our local dwarfism group, the Little People of Ontario, just started emailing them questions, connecting with parents, connecting with other people with dwarfism. So I think that really helped prepare my parents, and having kind of that comfort, like they had a safety net, they had people to rely on and to ask questions to. Um, for the most part, like my accommodations, I think were very basic. Like at home, I had like stools in the bathroom, stools in the kitchen. For a while, I had like strings attached to the light switches, so I could just turn them on and off. Um, Even like when I was a kid, like my dad would build custom like tables for me that were low down to the ground and had like there's one that had like a little cutout so I could actually like scooch in and I could like play with all my toys. I didn't have to like lean across the table. And then at school, it was like stools kind of everywhere, stools in the classroom, stools in the bathroom. I had an educational assistant for like I think from grade 1 to grade 8 or grade 9, just like followed me around and helped me out with stuff. Maybe they were a little like too kind of helicopter-ish. Um, but yeah, just like I'm trying to think now, like even now, I'm temporarily living in the city and my accommodations are like they're not too big, but it's just things that make sense. So like a low down microwave on the stove, like little knobs that are at the front rather than the back, a bed that's lower down so I don't have to use a stool to to get into it. Um, but yeah, no, but those are all the accommodations that I can kind of think of right now.
Yeah, I think people are always shocked because I have pretty much the exact same accommodations, and I even did when I was younger. um, stools in the house and things lower down and things like I bake a lot, love to bake. I love to be in the kitchen. And so all of like the flour and sugar and oils and everything are on the bottom shelves. Because Kaz, my partner, doesn't bake a whole lot. And so those are the things that I need. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
it makes more sense for them to be super low. And it wasn't really an accommodation that we like those kinds of things don't really involve conversation around them. It just makes the most sense at the time, you
Yeah.
know? Like as far as school goes, I'm sure you dealt with this too. There obviously are conversations. Like, okay, can we put a stool here? Can we put a stool here? Can we do this for her? But which I dealt with too, but at home like it just kind of clicks and you're like, well, why wouldn't I do it that way? And so I think people are always shocked when I tell them that the most common accommodation I have in my household is literally just step stools. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I can't reach something, I climb on the counter or I ask my average height partner to do it. Like I just and people are like, well, I don't know what they're expecting, but they're like, that's it? That's your only
Yeah.
big accommodation? And I'm like, yep. Like I'm sorry to disappoint. I don't have anything huge in my house. And I know some people, do need some extra help, whether it's lifts for certain things or certain things like that. But like I'm not I'm that's not my disability. Like those things wouldn't necessarily help or hinder me in any way. So my biggest accommodation is are step stools, and people are shocked all the time. Do you get that response too from people who ask about your accommodations at home?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think maybe when I was younger, I think that was a question that my parents would
Mm.
get a lot from other curious parents who had never seen a little person before. I think they would see me and they're like, "Oh my God, she's so fragile. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna like step on her."
Don't touch her.
But yeah, you're gonna break her. Um, but but yeah, like I think I don't know. I don't think I've ever been asked like what kind of accommodations
Mm.
I've needed. I think that's like a very rare question that I hope is becoming more
Huh.
common, but to just like straight up ask someone like, "What are your accommodations? How can I help you?"
Yeah, I get that a lot in my comment section, specifically from people that are like, "Oh, so you use pedal extensions to drive? What other accommodations do you have in your house?" And I'm like, "Just step stools, actually." And they're like, "What?" Because pedal extensions aren't something you see every day, and so they expect me to have also something in my house that's something you don't see every day. And when I
Yeah.
tell, then like step stools are such a common thing that like a lot of people, average height people, have them in their house. People with
Yeah.
kids, parents have them in their house. Like it's just a very common accommodation that I think a lot of
Hmm.
people use. It's not just disabled people or little people at all. And so I think it comes as a shock to a lot of people that that's it. That's all
Yeah.
that that's all that's in my house, guys. It's not that big of a thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of average height people, or not just average height people, but non-disabled people look at disabled people like these incredibly complex beings, and it's like, oh my gosh, they probably like hook them up to a bunch of machines every night. So I mean, some little people,
Every day,
do have like
keep them
the
alive.
breathing masks, but it's like, yeah, their house must just be filled with all these like medical tools and whatnot.
Every night you have to intubate them. Like it's a whole thing. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Nope. Sorry to disappoint, guys. Actually, not the case every day. If it is, you'll know about it. But I promise,
Oh yeah, we'll make
not
some
the case.
TikToks about that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to pull out my phone and film. It's the first thing I'll do. I promise. Uh,
Yeah.
so let's talk about film. So when did you first realize that film was for you? Like when were you first interested in it? And then how did you? I think a lot of people want to know from me, so I'll ask you too. Like how did you start in the film industry?
Yeah. Okay. So it was about 10 years ago. I was in college and or sorry, not college. Oh my gosh. I was in high school and I originally wanted to be in front of the camera. Like I wanted to be a journalist. And so I had signed up for a co-op class. And they give you kind of like a work assignment. They place you at an organization, at a company, whatever, so you can get like real work experience. And they didn't have anything that would have put me in front of the camera, but there was a local TV studio that was always looking for volunteers, so they put me there. So I was behind the camera, and like I was on all the shows that this news station produced. It was different every day, whether it was like the news or like local community programming. They had like a bingo game, they had hockey nights, they had music festivals, and I was doing like everything I could behind the camera, whether that was controlling like the audio, doing like the transitions between the different cameras and graphics, creating graphics even. And they eventually gave me the opportunity to create my own news stories, whether that like doing like the filming, the editing, the voiceovers. And I was in my school's like music program, and that was kind of like my other passion was music, was singing, was playing an instrument. And so I kind of combined those two loves together, and I started creating news stories about my school's music program, and that eventually led to short documentaries. And I was like, wait, like I really love creating stories, like nonfiction stories, and telling people's stories. So I went to college for film, and there my passions kind of changed a bit. I got to explore like a little bit of everything, and I realized that I want to do producing and directing for documentary. And then as I went into the industry, those interests also changed as I've been exploring. So that was kind of like my start. That I graduated school about 3 years ago, film school about 3 years ago. So I've just been taking on as many opportunities as I can in the industry. But yeah, that's basically how I got started.
Wow. Um, yeah, I think that's like the biggest question I'm always asked is like, I want to be in front of or behind the camera. I don't know which. I just don't know where to start. So I think it's really daunting. Because I think when a lot of people think of film, they think of big feature films like in movie
Mm-hmm.
theaters or on Netflix or whatever, and they're like, "How do I do that?" And what people don't realize is that stepping stones, just like anything else,
Yeah.
it's kind of being in the right place at the right time. And
Oh
for a
yeah.
lot of it, it's about who you know and
Yep.
the connections that you make and making sure you're not, pissing people off in the
Oh yeah.
industry because that could cost you a job. um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it has for a lot of people. Can say not me,
Mm-hmm.
but for a lot of people, that's what's happened. And so I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people struggle because mainly they don't see themselves represented in
Yeah.
in film and TV specifically, in front of or behind the camera. And I know I really struggled with that, both in theater, Broadway, and film and TV. And so, have you ever dealt with those kinds of feelings where you're feeling a little bit discouraged because there aren't any little people or people with disabilities in your vicinity working alongside you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I was in film school. I was one out of two visibly disabled people out of a program of like 100 people, like at least in my year. Um, so like most of the time in the industry, I'm the only little person. On the project that I'm currently on, there throughout like the month 2 months I've been on it, there have been 3 or 4 other little people, maybe even five other
Wow.
little people on the project. And like I just get so happy just walking into a room and seeing another little person on this project. But yeah, for like a majority of my career, even before I entered the industry, I was really discouraged from by the lack of little people, mainly in front of the camera, because I like when I was in elementary school and high school, I didn't even know it was possible for little people to be behind the camera. But yeah, like the examples that we have for dwarfism representation, like the three biggest examples are the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz, the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and even though this isn't like real dwarfism representation, the Seven Dwarfs from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and all of them are little the little people in those films are all kind of like a character. I can never say that word, caricature, or it's like stereotypes.
Yeah,
But
no,
there's
I
not
get
any
you.
like
Yeah.
proper, yeah, not any proper representation where you see like just a little person like living an absolute mundane life of going to work, going to school, hanging out with their friends, having like a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a partner. So yeah, I think just not seeing any little person in front of and behind the in front of the camera and behind the camera just made me feel for a while like, is this a career path that I can really pursue?
Mm. Yeah, I always felt that specifically for behind the camera. I very recently, and by recently I mean like within the last probably 2 or 3 years, have found a passion and a love for directing. And I never
Mm-hmm.
really thought that was possible. And through therapy, I discovered the reason I didn't think that was possible was, and my therapist is also a little person, actually, and she pointed
Oh
this
my
out.
gosh.
I know. I know. Whenever I
I
tell
need a
other little people
therapist
that,
that's a
they're
little
like,
person.
yeah, she's a
Oh
little
my
person, and
gosh.
so she just understands things. Found her on accident, but so she just gets it, and so I was talking to her about really loving directing towards the end of college, and I went to a performing arts college, and so I got the chance to kind of shadow directors that I really loved at school, and also practice. And so, like, they give me little projects and stuff to direct, and so I really fell in love with it. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know, like, is it something I want to do? And she finally went, what's stopping you from not only being an actor but also directing and producing, like, what is it? I was like, I don't really know. And so after a few weeks I kind of figured out that the reasoning was is because I know that I'm very powerful, and that I know that I command a room, and I can tell people what to do, and I'm very confident in my ability to do so. But I really struggled believing that people would listen to me because of how small I am.
Mm.
And I really struggled believing that people would follow my directions. I was like, are you sure people will listen to me? And she was like, it's a set. They're your employees. Yes. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to listen to you, I promise. And so, it was one thing doing it at school because all of my all of my classmates knew who I was and respected me, and vice versa. But it was really scary going on to like professional sets and being like, "Hey, I guess I'm in charge.
Mhm.
Listen to me, I guess." And not only that, I was nervous about doing anything physically with the camera because in my brain,
Yeah.
cameras are on tripods most of the time. Where are the tripods? At 5 feet above my head.
Yep.
So not literally 5 feet, but it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can't see anything that's being filmed or shot. I can't, like, it's impossible. I can't see where the buttons are. I can't see. I don't know where anything is, and I didn't see anybody with accommodations on set. All the people that
Yeah.
were coming in and talking to us as students were really successful. That's great, but they weren't disabled. And so when I kind of raised my hand and I'd be like, so what are some accommodations that you can do on set? They wouldn't have any idea, and it wasn't necessarily their fault because they don't use those accommodations. But
No.
I didn't know that you could bring a step stool on set. Why? I don't know. I don't know why I never thought about that. But nobody ever brought it up either. So,
Yeah.
everybody was kind of like, oh, you'll be an actor. Like, that was just kind of the automatic assumption. And nobody was like, but she could also produce or direct or operate a camera or sound or whatever. Like, there was always an assumption. And I kind of bought into that too, because I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't think people would listen to me. I don't think I'm commanding enough. I don't think I could operate a camera. I don't think I could hold my hands above my head and operate a boom for a long period of time. I can't stand for long periods of time. Like, nobody seems to know what any kind of accommodations are for someone like
Hmm.
me behind the camera. So, like, why would there be any? What accommodations do you either use behind the camera or have like cool ones that you've seen other people use? Because I think it's important to talk about that so other people who might want to go into film know what's out there and know
Yeah.
what's able to be done for them if they are interested in ever working on set.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm even still figuring out for myself. Like the more experience that I have on set, the more I kind of realize like what makes me comfortable. So I think my biggest ones are having a quiet space.
Mm.
I still like mask on set. I'm actually like one of the only people that I think that still masks on set, and I love just having like a room where I can take my mask off and eat and just like put my like head down on a desk or something and just kind of like process everything that's going on. Because when you're on set, like something that people don't talk about is there's so much overstimulation by like noises, by sounds, by people. Like there's just so much going on. And then another thing is having like being able to go at my own pace, which I know is a bit hard when you're on a set just because of the long hours and the amount of standing and the amount of walking you need to do. And this is actually part of the reason why I'm considering leaving the industry, is because I realize that I get really tired on set. But on my current project, my team has been so amazing. And if I'm getting tired, they'll just be like, okay, it's okay. You can go home, work the rest of the day from home. Just be on call, be near your phone, be near your email. So like we can get in contact with you. But I think for me, just someone with low energy, that has been really helpful. Those two accommodations, and then of course like having a stool everywhere in the kitchens, in the bathrooms, in even like in front of my chair where I can just like rest my feet for a while. But yeah, I would say as a little person, those are my accommodations.
I would also say having a place to sit is important.
Yes.
um,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sets are very standing. Like they involve a lot of standing.
Hmm.
And there's one director, I can't remember who it is, famous director, who like banned sitting down on their set.
Christopher Nolan.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan. I knew you would
Yeah.
know who it was. Um, and like that's wild. What? What do you mean? Ableism?
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
Hmm.
I think that having a place to sit is one other thing that I've seen for my friends who are deaf and hard of hearing, like me, is something like having a designated person to, if you're directing, to be able to run to whoever needs to be told direction, and then tell them what you just told that person. And then if they have questions, not to just scream over the top of, equipment and people, but to
Hmm.
either come over to you or tell that person. And then that person would come back over to you. Just have like a designated, almost like assistant or liaison, to be able
Yeah.
to relay information back and forth is also really important. And of course, I've seen like ASL interpreters that have been assigned to whoever is deaf or hard of hearing. I have a deaf friend who's a director, and although she will tell you ASL interpreters hiring them for like a whole 12-hour shoot day it can be expensive.
Oh
It
yeah.
is
Oh yeah.
really helpful for her, and she's able to actually get her job done because
Hmm.
she's able to understand everybody and everybody's able to understand her. Just like small things that help you get less exhausted, and, make sure that you're also saving your energy for doing your job, I think is
Yeah.
important. Like we are there to do a job. And so to me, and I hope to a lot of other people, accommodations are no brainers to help us do our job. I don't
Yeah.
know what doesn't click for a lot of people.
No, and I think like they think that when we get accommodations, we're getting special treatment because it's kind of like a, if one person gets an accommodation, then everyone has to get it, which it's not like me having an accommodation like puts me above a bunch of people. It makes me equal to them.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about social media and content creation. How did you get involved with that? What was your thought process behind starting to post, and why did you feel the need to start posting and sharing your story via TikTok and other platforms? I know you want to see more of my content. That's why I started a Patreon just for you. If you subscribe to a monetary tier on my Patreon, you automatically get access to hours of unseen footage. Behind the scenes, post shows, weekly life updates, weekly private live streams, and of course, so many never before seen pictures and videos of Champ and Monty. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to my Patreon and check out all of the perks that I have for you.
I got onto social media kind of by accident. I never had, um, I never was planning on being a content creator and an influencer, but it just happened one day by accident, because I had downloaded TikTok like in 2020. at the start of the pandemic, like literally everyone else. And I would just casually watch videos. I kind of made a few videos here and there, but they didn't take off just because I didn't know how to be a content creator. I didn't know how to work the algorithm. I didn't know all those secrets. And then one day in 2022, I was watching TikTok and there was some lady who made a video of a school project that her daughter brought home. And in the school project, it said, "My mommy is afraid of midgets," which, the M word, that's a slur used towards people with dwarfism. And I was like, man, like this is going viral on TikTok. Like people are finding this funny. Okay, I need to step in. I need to say something. And I made a stitch and I called the woman out. And the next thing you know, it blew up overnight. And it got a bunch of likes, a bunch of views. I think about 2,000 people followed me in one day. And I was like, wait a second. Wait, is this something that I can actually do? And then I started making more videos. And now I've been doing that for almost 3 years. And I was like, wow, I wish I had started this a lot earlier, because I've realized that even though there's a lot of assholes on the internet, a lot of people are actually interested in learning more about dwarfism and disability.
Yeah, I think just about every influencer I talk to, including myself, every time we're asked the question, "How'd you get started?" By accident, every single
Yeah.
time. I also got started by accident. I just fell into this same thing. I saw a video, got inspired to post, and literally the first video I ever made was just me introducing myself, and being like, "Hi, my name's Cassidy, and this is what I'm going to post now." And people were like, "Oh, okay." And I got like 100,000 views overnight. I got 10,000 followers overnight. Like, and I was
Wow.
18. Like, I didn't know what to do. I just graduated high school, like in the middle of a pandemic. I was like, so what do I start posting now? And just like you, I just started making videos and posting what I wanted to and posting what I thought other people wanted to see, and did it by accident. And then people really liked me, so I just kept doing it. But it's a
Yeah.
very common answer. I think that if you're, it's one of those things that if it comes to you when you're least expecting it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just happens, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. What do I do now? Like, what do you guys want to see
Yeah,
from me? What am I
exactly.
supposed to be doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Actually, don't look
Yeah.
over here. Um, so, what do you think is the most outrageous video that you've either made a video about or decided not to?
Oh my gosh. Just
There
like
are
in
a lot
terms
from
of
me.
things that I've seen online that I've like had to
Hmm.
stitch because it was so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Okay, my
Or
favorite
something that's
story.
like so ridiculous, or that like you couldn't do it.
Oh,
Either,
I can't think of
either
any off
or
the
both.
top of my head. Okay, I actually made a video about this once. It was like I did it Watch Mojo style, where I'm like, we're counting down my top 5 controversies on TikTok. Um, but I think the most outrageous thing I've seen is, I'm going to name this guy by name because you know what? He's disappeared off the internet and he should be shamed for the rest of his life. His name was the Sleepy Paramedic, and he's a paramedic, and he made this video where a long time ago he and his partner got called to the scene of, like, it was a deceased body and it was a little person, and he was like, this was hard to believe because like we believe that little people are immortal, they never call 911, they never die, they never come to the hospital. And I was like, dude, like what? And so apparently they come and they pick up the body, they put it in the back of the ambulance, and they're waiting for, I think it's like the morgue to come and collect the body, or the hospital or something. I don't know. And they're in their truck and they can see the family outside of the truck. And the windows are all closed, so the family can't hear them. But his partner starts playing the Lollipop Guild song, and he has to contain his laughter so he's not like laughing in front of the family. So they can't hear what's going on, but they can see his facial expressions. And he thought this was the funniest thing. And I remember just seeing this video and just being filled with so much rage. And I think it was Aubrey Smalls that sent me the video. And we both made stitches of the video. And we got so many hate comments and people just telling us to like F off and all these like rude things because the sleepy paramedic had seen our video and he decided that he was going to take a break from TikTok because he was getting too many death threats. So as soon as he said that he was getting death threats, which I highly doubt he was, we then became the bad guys because our followers were sending him death threats. So it was just like this messy situation, but just seeing that someone was so comfortable posting an example of ableism online and just totally dehumanizing a little person, even in death, just made me like realize how much more work we have to do and that like no one is going to call out this behavior. No one is going to say, hey, this isn't okay unless they personally know a little person or unless they are a little person themselves.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, thank God. Because otherwise I would have been part of the trio that was like, no. What are we doing? I've done that too. It doesn't go over well. Anytime I do
No.
it. Nobody likes me after that one, but hey, I'm okay with that. I find it so interesting that as a medical professional, a paramedic, you know about all of these different types of conditions, all of these different types of diagnoses and disabilities and everything, right? Or at least
Mm-hmm.
you've read about them. You were taught about them in school,
Yeah.
and you still thought that little people were immortal. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Uh, hmm?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I know.
I don't get it. Like, was it a joke? Like, I don't understand. And also the whole little people don't go to the hospital thing. Girl, I've had 43 surgeries. I feel like they'd be shocked
Yeah. You
if
want to see all my
they
scars?
saw me. Yeah, if they saw one of us in real life rolling up. They'd be like, "Oh, wait, wait a second. You look like you've had medical attention. That's weird. Strange."
Yeah.
The fact that they like, yes, the whole mocking them in death thing is absolutely horrific, but just the concept that like you thought that like little people don't die and like we're immortal and also don't receive medical attention ever, like that's wild to me. Like I don't know how you
I know.
can believe such a thing in the year 2025. That's wild. So I mean, I'm glad he took a break. I'm glad he fell off the face of the earth.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he had gotten like if he had faced repercussions from his
Sure,
job because I
as
know
you
that there
should.
were actually yeah, there were little people that actually went to like they go to the hospital, them and their children go to the hospital that he works at. And I remember this one woman made a video and she was like, I feel so uncomfortable now going to this hospital knowing that he works there and he could see me or my child or even be like treating myself or my family members. And I think there are a few people who actually sent out emails to the hospital with the
That's
video and
wild.
said, you're employing someone who's saying shit like this online. And I don't know if he ever got fired. I would hope he did or he got in trouble or whatever, but we'll never know.
That's also wild to me that like you have these thoughts of like, haha, what if I made a video about that? I have those thoughts all the time. Oh, this could be a video. And then I stop and I think to myself, does this really need to be on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really need to tell this story? Is this gonna hurt anybody outside of myself or myself? Is it productive to society and
Yeah.
this in the world? Like, why why am I posting this? I think you have to you really have to ask yourself those questions if you post anything nowadays because it doesn't disappear. That is going to follow that man for the rest of his life. The haha
Oh yeah.
video that he thought he was making, yeah, if he took it down, great. Somebody screen recorded it. It's still
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
it's everywhere. Yep.
It's out there. You
No.
stitched it, so it's still up on your account. People can still find that little clip of what
Yeah.
he said. Like, I don't get it.
If
I
you
don't
look up
get.
his name,
Uh-huh.
yeah. If you look up his name online, there's actually a new, like the video. It's all about the video he made. There's actually a news article that's like details exactly what he said and the public reaction. So like that, he's cooked. He's done.
Sorry about the consequences of your own actions. Like, oh,
Yeah. Play stupid games,
I don't
win
know what to
stupid
tell you.
prizes.
Don't
Yeah.
post then. Maybe like let's not post about people with a pretty common disability or any disability for
Yeah.
that matter. Let's just not talk about other people. Point blank.
Yeah.
Let's just nip
No,
that
it
in the
should be
bud.
common sense.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think we're in an era now where I think the reason why we're seeing more discrimination against people with dwarfism is because of social media. Because
Mm.
no one has any inside thoughts anymore. They have to record and post everything they see, whether it's their own thoughts, whether it's some like person or situation that they see out in public, because it's all about validation. Like people literally thrive off of likes and comments and views and followers. And the only way to get that is to post something controversial. And all the videos I see about little people, like, oh, I saw a little person at the airport and I asked them to ride on my suitcase, or oh, I saw a little person just walking in my neighborhood. They always go viral because people just think it's the funniest thing ever. Like, oh my gosh, it's a person who's like significantly shorter, just existing out in public. Oh my gosh, this is
Move
so
on.
weird. Like, what?
Like I don't understand. I mean, maybe it's because I was born into this body, and so I am more empathetic. I guess I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is, but I feel like if I were born non-disabled in an average height body, I still don't think I would be shocked to
Mm-mm.
see a person with a difference or a person with any kind of disability or a little person who is literally just a human but shorter,
Mm-hmm.
like walking around and like
Yeah,
living their lives. I'm not quite sure what the fascination is there, and I mean, we would have to do like a whole Aubrey Small style dwarfism history episode to go
oh yeah,
in that, but because I think it dates back, centuries of the
oh yeah,
fascination with little people and why average height people are so like love to make fun of us and love to just watch us exist. I do want to ask you
yeah.
because I know I was asked, and I know you probably made videos on this, but what are your thoughts on the one video of the person asking the little person to ride on their bag at the airport? I kind of
Oh
okay. It was
man,
sent to me. It was sent to me, and I did laugh. That was my first reaction to it because I was like, "This is so ridiculous that like I don't like. Okay, like it's. I mean, ableist in a sense, but at the same time, I was like, if I was in this position, if I was the little person they asked to ride on their back, I would just laugh.
yeah. No, I think it was so ridiculous. Just like the situation. Um, but I think what made it worse is like the comments, like people thinking that it was okay. And I think just what made me so angry was how she handled it and how she was like she went on the internet looking for validation because she like was obviously in the wrong. Like at the end of the day, it's the little person who their feelings are the only one that matters. And the fact that the little person said no, or we don't even know what they said. Like she could even be lying about what they said. Like they could have had a really like calm reaction. They could have just been like, "No, thank you." And she's like, "Oh my god, you hate fun. You're boring." Like blah blah. Like I don't know, but the fact that like she was obviously in the wrong and she's coming online and asking for validation, and it's like she's almost making it acceptable for people to ask this question to little people and forcing them into this position or these situations that they don't want to be in. And then now you look like the little person looks like the bad guy because they set a boundary. Like that to me is really problematic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's problematic. I I did. I had somebody send it to me. I don't even remember. Oh, I think it was my friend Sarah Todd. She's another disability activist, and she sent it to me, and
Yeah.
she was like, "What are your thoughts?" And I was like, "Oh God, I don't know." I was like, she was like, "Are you going to make a video?" I was like, "No, other people got it." Because by the
Yeah.
time I saw it, Aubrey had already made a video on it. I think you had to. I was like, the other ones, the other spokes, little people got it. I was like, I don't need to weigh in. I don't have anything new to add, truthfully. And that's my thought process usually. If I see an issue that another big disabled creator has weighed in on, and I have the exact same opinion, I'm like, cool, great, I'm good. I don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll just tag them anytime. I'll just tag people in their video anytime people ask me questions about it. It's great. Good explanation, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for speaking on behalf of me too. Nice job.
It's good when
Yeah,
everyone can like take on the labor because sometimes it is really exhausting, like constantly educating people. But if like you cover some problematic videos, I cover some problematic videos, Aubrey covers some problematic videos,
just
we won't burn out. We got it.
split it. No, we split it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Split the
that's not a thing
responsibility.
that any of us have ever talked about. Like, I just recently met Aubrey, had pretty much the exact same conversation with him about this. And this is the first time, for viewers and listeners that don't know, this is the first time that Violet and I are meeting. We've never met prior to this,
Yeah.
face to face, actually.
Nope.
It's just something that's a very, like, unspoken kind of situation where I know, and I know because I do it, but I know other people do it too. If you see another disabled person that makes a video on a common issue, I'm not making it.
Yeah.
They got it unless I have something new to add, or unless like I have a
Exactly.
completely different opinion. Like, I'm not. They got it. Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. Like, split the labor at that point. I'm not doing it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything I don't have to do. Um, have you had any experiences with people being weird to you out in public because of your dwarfism?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think like the common one is that everyone goes through is like the staring, the pointing, even like the side glances, laughing, taking photos. I think like I've that used to really affect me when I was younger. I know that it really affects my family members when they see it happening. And whenever they see it happening and they want to call it out, I just say, like, don't worry about it. Like, I have a saying, whatever happens behind my back, that's none of my business. If a group of people behind me is interested in me, I don't see them. That's none of my business. I'm not going to look around and see if they're staring at me. But I think the more like that I focus energy on problematic reactions, or my family focuses on problematic reactions, that makes me angrier, and I kind of just want to like protect my peace. The only time I ever get angry is when someone invades my space and treats me more like an obstacle rather than a person. Like if I'm at the grocery store and like looking at something and all of a sudden someone comes up behind me and like reaches over my head to get something, or even like two people talking beside me and they like pass something over my head. It's like, is it really that hard not to say excuse me or like go around me? But yeah, that those are the things that piss me off the most.
Yeah, I get the family thing. My family's the
Mm-hmm.
worst when it comes to like uh calling people out. I'm like, please stop. Actually, you're making
Oh
it
yeah.
12 times worse. I don't need this.
Yeah.
But I get the pointing and the staring all the time. I think that's a really common one. I've had people take pictures of me without my consent, especially with Champ because he is such a large dog and I'm so small that attracts a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I get a lot of, you should put a saddle on him. And I'm like, thank you. Hear that every day. Actually, it's not original. Um, my sister, I will say that my sister is the worst because my mom's the worst about being angry about it. My sister's the worst because anytime somebody comes up to me and asks me any kind of question, I can't look at her because otherwise we'll just burst out in laughter because of, you know,
Yeah.
because we've
Yeah.
talked about it so many times and she's come up with some like weird responses that I should say. And I'm like, I'm never going to use that actually. Or, but I think my mom is the worst. My grandma used to be really, really bad. She used to turn around to people and be like, "Do you have a question? Do you have a
Yeah.
question?
That's
Do you
what my
want to
mom
ask?
does. Yeah.
You want to ask her?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Stop." The only time I will entertain it is when a small child, and I mean small
Yeah.
child,
Yeah. Yeah.
asks a question, and I will actually take the time to explain. And usually, I can't say no to kids. They can pet my dog. I can't say no to small children. I can't do it. And he loves
Yeah.
small children so much that I'm like, yes, you can pet him. But anybody else over the age of like 9 or 10, I'm like, nope, I'm just small because that's the way I was born, actually. Don't know why. It just
Yeah.
happened. Sorry about it. That's the best explanation I can give you today. But yeah, I think it's a very universal experience when you have any kind of disability. The pointing, the staring, the picture taking, unfortunately. So this brings me to my last question, actually, which is I have a primarily younger audience, and
Okay.
it says that my the biggest age range for me is between 13 to 18. In
Oh
the
wow.
past few months, we've had three separate 7-year olds come up and tell me that they watch my content.
Wow.
So I
That's so
know,
cool.
which is great because they're learning about disability so young. But at the same
Yeah.
time, what are you doing on YouTube? You shouldn't be on YouTube, but okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I guess I'm glad you're watching me. A safe
Yeah.
creator on the internet that's posting family friendly
Yeah.
content. Great.
Exactly.
So I get a lot of questions about primarily from like younger disabled kids and teenagers about self love and how to handle things like staring and how to handle how much you have to educate others in public and about why your body looks the way it does. And it can be exhausting.
Hmm.
And they ask about how I have learned to love myself and how I have so much confidence and how I started in my industry and found the courage to go into an industry that not many little people and disabled people are in. Period. And so my question for you is, what would you tell them, and or what would you tell yourself at that age?
Hmm. Yeah. So I would say you don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe anyone any explanation about why you're the way you are. You don't have to answer any question you don't want to. If people get mad at you and call you names, call you rude for not entertaining their bigotry or their curiosity, that's on them. That's not on you, because at the end of the day, answering questions, very invasive questions, sometimes can get very exhausting, especially if you're doing it over and over and over again. And Google's free. If someone has a question, they can just look it up on Google. They don't have to ask a disabled person. Um, I know for a lot of disabled people, kind of loving yourself it can be hard at times. Um, you have to find your people. You have to find a community that will support you. You need to find friends that experience the same things so you can vent to them, so you can talk about your similar experiences. And it is hard. Like when I was in elementary school and high school, I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of people that I could relate to. I felt a lot like I was a burden, just because I think there's a lot of people who don't know a lot about dwarfism or disability. And of course, like the teenage years are the worst years of your life. You just kind of have to get through them, even if it's awful and it's bad. You just gotta wait it out, but it will get better. So just find your people and just don't put up with any bullshit from anyone. Sorry, I know 7-year-olds are watching
No,
this. Don't
period.
don't put up with any crap from anyone.
Yeah, I think a lot of the very common phrase that I used to hear as a teenager is high school is the best 4 years of your life. And while I was in high school, I was like, this is the worst. Why do
Yeah.
people say that? I was like, this is horrible. And, I was a cheerleader and I did all of the basic high school things. And I was still not having a great time. I had some fun moments, but just like you, I didn't have a whole lot of friends and I didn't really know where I belonged and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew who I was, but I didn't know, I didn't have people my age who accepted me. Wasn't until probably college that I found those people and that I found the people that I was meant to be around and the people that were going to help me grow. Um, and so I think what you said, it's again very common, but I think that it does get better. And
Yeah.
it ultimately, like, don't listen to anybody when they say that the ages of 14 to 18 are the best 4 years of your life. They're absolutely not.
No.
You will
No,
get there.
they're not.
If you're having a great time, continue having a great time. But if you're not, you'll get there. You'll have a great time eventually. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to happen right now.
And even
Um,
if you don't have a great time in college, because I certainly did not have a great time in college, don't worry about that either. It will get better after college too.
it will get better. Adulthood is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Not all the
Yeah.
time, but
Yes.
it can be.
Yes.
That's my
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Violet, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching and listening to this episode of The View from 4 feet and 3 inches. I'm your host, Cassidy Huff. Please give this show a 5-star rating depending on where you're watching or listening because it really does help me out. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you comment down below on what your favorite part of this episode was. Head on over to my Patreon to check out hours of unseen and unreleased footage. And make sure to go follow me on all my other platforms because I do post on Instagram, Facebook, Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts every single day. I have a YouTube vlog that comes out every Wednesday and a podcast episode here on The View from 4 feet and 3 inches. That comes out everywhere you listen to podcasts every single Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye!